Who will have the biggest rise and fall in 2026? With how competitive the competition is at the moment, only a game or two could be the difference between a top 4 side and a side outside the 8. If you didn't know, 3 teams on average every season usually get replaced inside the top 8. So in this video, we're looking at 3 teams who could rise and 3 who could fall, plus some honourable mentions. Let's get into it. I'm starting with the team on the rise, and I'm going with Hawthorn. A lot of people are saying Hawthorn are one midfielder away from going to the next level, but let's remember they just made a prelim final without their best player and mid in Will Day. On paper, they're one of the younger teams in the competition. They're in the bottom 9 age-wise, and they have a bunch of guys 22 or under. Wizard, Ginnivan, Connor McDonald, Josh Weddle, D'Ambrosio, Ward, Deer, McKenzie, Butler, Huswaite, and that's not even counting the rookies like Dalton and Nunn and Schubert coming in. With their core take it to the next level in 2026, I'm talking about Newcomb, Dylan Moore and Will Day. Moore is going to be playing more midfield in 2026, and could he potentially average over 25 a game next to Newcomb and Day? If he can, that's going to be a scary midfield with those 3. So far in the pre-season, Moore, Watson, McDonald and Weddle are all training with the midfielders, so we can expect a lot more run in Hawthorn's midfield in 2026. And speaking of more midfielders and more run, could we see Hawthorn go back to a 2024 hawk ball style of game? I think we definitely can, and here's the big reason why. Obviously, Will Day coming back and Watson, McDonald and Weddle all playing midfield is going to be a huge boost, but people forget Calshadir and Mitch Lewis. Their marking ability up forward is what took Hawthorn to the next level in 2024. Most people look back to 2024 and think, yeah, Will Day missed the season. Once he came back, everything sort of clicked, but that is true, but it's not the full story. In round 7 or 8 of 2024, Calshadir joined the AFL side for his first game, and ever since then, Hawthorn went to the next level when it came to their ball movement and game plan. He brought a huge element to the Hawthorn team, and that being contestant marking and the ability to crash packs. Once Calshadir was there, and the rest of the Hawthorn team knew they had a big marking target, and they had almost the freedom just to move the ball as quick as possible and get it down long to Calsha, then yeah, everything started to change, and people forget that. Because with those two back in, if Hawthorn just said, stuff it, we're just going to play as fast as we possibly can. We've got Weddle on the wing, we've got C-Mac and Moore on the ball now, Watson for speed, we're going to be quick and we're going to be fresh at all times, and if we can go long to the forward line to Deer and Lewis, they're either going to take a mark or they're going to bring the ball to ground. And who's going to be on the deck, on the ground when the ball hits the deck? Wizard, McDonald, Ginnivan, Moore, anyone. It's going to be scary. I think the Hawks are going to go back to the 2024 hawk ball game style, and they're going to make the top 4 and absolutely destroy the competition next year. The first team I have fallen down the ladder is the Pies, simply for the fact that they're just too old. Elliott 33, Pendlebury 37, Sywadden 34, Crisp 32, Howe 35, DeGoey, Cameron, Moore, Membry, Fram, McStay, all 30 / going to be 31 next year. It's a very old list. Also, who's going to be kicking all these goals in 2026? The Pies only had 4 players with 20 or more goals in 2025, and one of them is gone, that being my check, with who was their second leading goal kicker with 36. For perspective, most of the top 8 teams have between 5 and 7 players with 20 plus goals, and then a few more between that 15 and 20 range, but the Pies have 3 going into 2026, and that's going to be scary for Pies fans. I've seen a few people saying the Pies are going to fall down the ladder, and other people disagreeing, especially Pies fans, but don't forget that they did miss the finals after winning the grand final in 2023. Also, in the back half of 2025, you could tell the age is definitely catching up to them. They finished the season 2 and 5. It's so weird how things go in footy, because for pretty much the first 75% of the season last year, the Pies were the premiership favourites by far. It was the Pies and then sort of the Lions after that. And then the back half of the year, the Pies went essentially, they almost missed the 8. I think they were only a game or 2 outside the 8. Like, if they dropped one more game, they might have not made finals. So, yeah, unfortunately, I have the Pies falling down the ladder in 2026. The second team I have on the rise is St Kilda, and for a very good reason. I'm really high on the Saints going into 2026, and if I had to pick a team to follow other than my own team, it would definitely be St Kilda. I think they're going to take the type of jump that Adelaide did in 2025 and the Hawks did in 2024, and here's why. The reason the Hawks and the Crows took their jump is because they improved weaknesses and added depth to their list. That combined with a handful of young guys stepping up and taking the game to the next level. The Hawks and the Crows got depth players, while I think the Saints got players like Flanders and TDK who could potentially be A-graders at the halfway point of 2026. So already on paper, their recruits are going to be much better than what the Hawks and the Crows got in their respective years. And then you think about Max King coming back after not playing a single game in 2025. He's kicked over 50 goals in a season before. So add 2 potential A-graders in Flanders and TDK, then Silvani, Ryan and King. Your whole lineup just improves right there, plus your depth, and then last season's bench gets moved to the depth lineup, and it just improves the whole team overall. And I think they've got a really, really solid group of young guys that are ready to step up next year. And especially with all these new players coming in, it's going to make their life even easier. Winhager, Wilson, Philippou, Boxall, Hall, Taru, Chevalier, Garcia. They got a bunch of young players that are probably going to step up and take the jump in their game next season, I reckon. And of course, the player that holds this whole group together, Nazaya. He is the superstar. He's probably going to be a top 3 player unanimously at the halfway point of next season, I think. And yeah, I think just having him surrounded by a lot of good talent now, yeah, the Saints did the right thing by recruiting hard over the off-season. So I think St Kilda are going to be taking a massive jump in 2026. The second team I have falling in 2026 is the Bombers. I'm about to give you a reality check with facts, Essendon supporters. Firstly, look at what the Tigers did in 2024. They had a massive injury list. They finished last on the ladder. Everyone knew it was time for a rebuild. All their stars said, hey, we want to go to different clubs. We want more opportunity. The Tigers said, hey, we'll trade you where you have high value. We'll get as much value back as possible and we'll start this rebuild the correct way. So it was a win-win. The Richmond players got traded to a better club, better opportunity, and in return, Richmond get high picks to start their rebuild. Win-win situation. The Bombers situation was very similar to the Tigers. Massive injury list that saw them finish at the bottom of the ladder. Their best player wanted out, and, you know, you could have got a lot of draft capital back for him. You also take into account the Tasmania coming in a few years, and they're going to take up a lot of the 2027 draft, the first draft that they're in. On paper, you look at that and you naturally say, hey, it's time for a rebuild. Maybe we just do this properly. We stay at the bottom for 2-3 years, but then we have a good young core and we can potentially go up the ladder from there. So on paper, you think you'd rebuild, right? But let's not forget, this is Essendon. So what did they choose? They chose both. They chose half and half. They chose to go to the draft and also keep their captain, Zach Merritt. And this is a horrible situation. This is why. Yes, the players they drafted are going to be really good. Roby, Farrell and Sharp, they're going to be great AFL players. But right now, Essendon are stuck in the middle. They're not going to be bad enough to finish bottom 4, and they're not going to be good enough to push for the wildcard round. So, like, what are they doing? What is the goal in this situation? You're not bad enough to tank and get a high pick, and you're not good enough to push for the wildcard round. So you're literally in no man's land. You're arguably in a worse position than if you were bottom of the ladder for 3 years in a row, like, genuinely. If you traded Merritt, you would have got someone like a Schubert or a Doverton or a Lindsay or 2 of those guys in the 2025 draft, but you didn't. Then in 2026, you would have got an extra first-round pick from the Hawks, plus most likely a top 3 pick. And boom, that's the start of a rebuild. That's a really good start to the rebuild. Then you look forward to the 2026 season. No Draper or Goldstein, so who's going to play ruck? Nick Bryan, he's 24. He's never played more than 8 games in a season. 2-metre Peter, he's a forward, but, you know, what's going to happen there? I honestly have no idea. Nick Martin's out for the season, so that's another key player, not going to be there. Do the Bombers and the Bombers fans actually think they're going to finish outside the bottom 6 in 2026? Like, if they had their best year possible, Merritt was a Brownlow contender, like a genuine Brownlow contender, top 5 player in the game. Are they going to finish? They're not finishing outside the bottom 6. I'm sorry, but they're simply not. I can't believe the Bombers front office looked at their situation and saw, hey, we're bottom 4. Our captain doesn't want to be there. Tasmania's coming into the draft in 2 seasons, and once they come in, we're essentially, like, if we don't rebuild now, we're done. We have no chance of rebuilding. They looked at those facts and said, no, we're going to keep our captain, our best player, held hostage, and we're just going to be mid. We're not going to be bad enough to get a high pick. We're not going to be good enough to play finals. What are they doing? I feel so bad for Bombers supporters. They're not going to play finals until 2040. Like, I'm being dead serious. Essendon, what direction is your club in? I don't even know. Essendon fans, please tell me, because you are in shambles. My next team on the rise is the Suns, simply for the fact that Christian Petrarca automatically puts them in top 4 contention. The trio of Rao, Anderson, and Petrarca is probably already the best trio in the league by far. Rao and Anderson are still only 24, 25 years old. They basically haven't even hit their prime. Petrarca is just a weapon in general. People forget how good he is. He's one of the best players in the comp still. He's going to kick goals. He's going to be aggressive up forward. He's pretty much going to do... He's just going to be a nightmare for opposition. You tell me you have to focus on Rao and Anderson. Yeah, that's hard enough. And then, just Petrarca in the background, just kicking snags and just doing his thing. Yeah, it's going to be a tough team to get past. Rioli of halfback in his second season for the Suns could be huge. He had a bit of an injury interrupted back after the season, but still played very well. The rookies, Zeke Ewell, Dylan Patterson, John Murray, Bo Adderstall, all from the Suns Academy. I think they're going to be big. Obviously, they're going to stay in Gold Coast, where they're from, and yeah, that's going to make them a little bit better than what they would be moving interstate, you know, in a new environment, new area. So I think they're going to excel. I think they're going to play very well, especially in the second half of the season. They've got a fair bit of young talent with really big potential. Humphrey, Andrews, Walter, Reed, and obviously Jamari Ugelhagen, who's going to fly under the radar. If he can get back to his 40, 50 goal a season type player next to Ben King, yeah, the Suns are going to be a nightmare. I feel like if the Suns can get top 2 and they get that home final advantage, they're going to be hard to beat. If Gold Coast comes second and everyone's fully fit and they have a very small injury list like Petrarca, Brown, Anderson are fully firing, they're playing their best footy, they're going to be tough. I would not want to see them in the finals. So yeah, the Suns are flying up the ladder in 2026. The last slide before my honourable mentions is definitely Adelaide. They definitely overachieved in 2025. People forget they finished bottom 4 in 2024, so they're obviously going to have a much easier fixture. And I feel like, yeah, finishing first in 2025, they're going to have a much harder fixture. They're pretty much going to have an extra 2 top 4 teams in 2026 compared to the extra 2 bottom 4 teams in 2025. So yeah, it's going to be a big difference. They were definitely still competitive, but 13 of their 18 wins were against bottom 10 teams, and everyone knows how big the competition gap was between the top 8 and the bottom 10. The top 8 teams that they did beat, I think it was the Lions by 5 points, the Hawks by a couple goals, the Pies by 3, the Giants by 3 goals, and they blew the Suns out. The Suns were just having a bad game. So yeah, not a lot of very convincing wins against top 8 teams. So yeah, Adelaide definitely overachieved in 2025, and they'll probably end up in the wildcard round in 2026. Now, just some quick honourable mentions. I have the Swans rising. Let's not forget they were the minor premiers in 2024 and made the grand final. Don't forget, Goulden missed most of the season. He only played the last 10 games of the year, and when he came back, their record was 7-3. So yeah, add Goulden and Curnow fully fit to this side, they're definitely a finals team. And they have a good all-round list. Warner and Rowbottom are still developing. They've got Blakey down back, and they just have Papley as well. And they just got a good all-round balanced team. So I think, yeah, we could definitely see them pushing for the top 4. And the next team that's going to fall is definitely Melbourne. Obviously, losing Petrarca and Oliver is huge, especially in the midfield. I think they still have a pretty solid list for a bottom 4 caliber team. They got Steele, Myercheck, and CJ over the off-season. Not bad pickups. Definitely floor-raising pieces. Plus the draft picks in Taylor and Pickett. I feel like if they can come in day one, have a decent impact. If Pickett can kick 1 goal a game, Taylor can just be a good, just an average AFL defender in year 1. They could definitely be better than a last place quality side. But at the same time, it's like they got rid of Oliver and they're still willing to pay $700,000 of his contract. It sort of tells you that they mean business. And if Tassie come in 2027, they have 1 chance to get the number 1 pick. So yeah, I feel like Melbourne are just going to deliberately tank, but still be somewhat competitive. That's the video, guys. Let me know, do you agree or disagree with the teams I have predicted for 2026? Very curious to hear your thoughts and opinions. And who do you think is going to rise and fall the most in 2026? Love to hear everything you guys have to say.